thanks again for taking some time with us today. Again, I'm Brett Holling. I'm Senior Account Executive over here at Frontier. We're very happy to have everybody today. Welcome to Dreamforce 17. So I am here to show you Chargent Core. Now, Chargent, again, like Micaiah said a couple of different times, that we are 100% Salesforce native. So 100% Salesforce native, what does that exactly mean? It means that we were built on Salesforce's servers using Salesforce technology. Okay? We live and breathe right within your Salesforce org. So we're not an integrated third-party application. There's no integration point between Chargent and Salesforce. You can consider us, one and the same as we go through this discussion. And being 100% Salesforce native, what does that mean to you? It means a couple of distinct things. So number one is your data is your data. Your data is always your data. Your data always remains in your Salesforce org. Therefore, your data is always as secure as your Salesforce org. Number two, being 100% Salesforce native allows you to leverage all of the beautiful Salesforce customization, automation, security, and reporting tools that you're already used to using. So any kind of workflow rules, approval processes, Apex triggers, Visualforce pages, Salesforce communities, like I'm going to show you later today, all available to be leveraged with Chargent. So essentially what we do is quarterback communication between Salesforce and your chosen payment gateway. Like Micaiah said, we're integrated to over 60 different gateways today, so you absolutely have the most flexibility in configuration and setup. Now, you can see on my screen that I've got about 8 different gateway records installed into my demo org here. So with that, you absolutely have the ability to send payments to multiple different gateways. So some of our customers do, in fact, take good part of something of a rate optimization plan. So for example, they'll send American Express payments over to Stripe. They'll send Visa payments on over to somebody like a Blue Snap. Totally possible, not a problem with Chargent. You can send payments and transactions to as many different gateways as you like. As well, let's just say you got started with somebody like an Authorize.net today. And you got Salesforce all configured and Chargent's all set up and everybody's running smoothly. But 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you want to change gateways or add another gateway. Not a problem whatsoever. Being integrated to so many different gateways allows you to make those adjustments on the fly without having to change your Salesforce configurations to support that other gateway. It's as simple as just adding the gateway, pointing the transaction towards that gateway, and you're good to go. So we make it really, really easy to be flexible with your gateways and whom you're sending transactions through. Now, Chargent can be installed in one of 3 different ways today. So we can be installed on the opportunity object, the case object, or you can choose to install our custom object called Chargent Orders. Chargent features and functions will work exactly the same across the board, no matter which transaction package you decide to implement. That decision is completely up to you. That is an implementation level decision. Now, differences between the packages. Opportunities and cases, obviously standard Salesforce objects. They got their built-in functionalities, which can prove to be limitations at times. For example, if you're going to set up a Salesforce community and you want your customers to leverage Chargent through that community, generally leads, opportunities, cases, not able to be exposed to that community. So that's what we come up with. That's one of the reasons why we come up with our custom object called Chargent Orders. And it's just that. It's a custom object. Allows you to go ahead and build whatever payment process makes the most sense for you and your team. And that's what I'm going to show you today is Chargent Orders. But just remember, when I'm going through these different features and functions in the Chargent order record, it'll work exactly the same, whether it's an order, opportunity, or case. So let's just jump in here to a Chargent order record that I like to play around with. The first thing I like to mention is that all transactions are driven from that charge amount field. So, and you also have the flexibility in how that field is populated. Opportunities and cases, generally that's a native roll-up of those product line items. With Chargent Orders, as you saw me do, you can just manually enter that field. The field can be populated by an Apex trigger, a formula field, a lookup field, really however you see fit. And I say all that just to make sure that we understand that all transactions are driven from that charge amount field. Now if I scroll down on my record, you'll notice a couple of different things here. So first of all, I've got all my billing contact information right here sitting in front of me. So if I do have the customer on the phone and they need to update any of that information, I can do it right here on this single screen. I don't have to bounce back and forth the account record or contact record or chase any of that down. I can do it right here on the single screen. As well, I've got an example of tokenization for you right here. So again, when you're using tokenization, you're not necessarily storing that credit card information in Salesforce. What you're doing is you're putting that responsibility at the gateway. So we send that payment information to the gateway vaults it, stores it, holds it, they're responsible for it. They send us back a token. So this alphanumeric string of characters that represents that specific credit card, or it could be bank account in some situations. But while you have a valid token here on file, you're good to go. You absolutely have the ability to go ahead and use that for recurring charges or future charges or however you need to react with that. One other thing about this credit card section here, you can see this card detail section here. The box is green. So green means go. Go ahead and charge that card. If that box was yellow, that card would be expiring within 45 days. And if that box was red, that would be an expired card. So your reps can see at a quick glance if that is a valid card to be used or not. Now I've got a valid card here. We just want to, at this point, go ahead and charge Mr. Schools for that $350. At this point, all we need to do is click that charge button. As we do, all that data gets sent out to the gateway. The gateway is going to return us a response, which we always post to the user, so the user always knows what's going on. If I click OK, my screen will refresh. And you'll notice down here, I just had a fresh $350 transaction record created there. So every action that's taken in Chargent results in one of these transaction records being created. So whether it's an authorization, a charge, a void, refund, what have you, every action that's taken in Chargent results in one of these transaction records being created. Now allow me to scroll down to the bottom here, and I will show you all that we do store the entire gateway response. So to take a quick step back, Chargent does act in a call and response fashion with the gateway. So the transaction's initiated, we make the call out to the gateway. Gateway gives us a response. We post that response in Salesforce as a transaction record here. Now, nobody understands all that gobbledygook, including myself. So what we do is we parse the pertinent information into these custom fields up here and really let you drive your automation and reporting from there. Now, from this transaction record, I do have a few different functions available to me. Now, of course, being Salesforce native, you do have the option to limit any of these functions to any of your users, a certain subset of users. Maybe only the admins want the ability to void and refund, things like that. So you have full control over the security and who gets to do what, per se. But from this transaction record, I can hit this charge authorize button. So an authorization, much like when you check into a hotel and they take your credit card and authorize it for $100 just in case you grab something out of the mini bar. Then they come back in and charge you $27 for that can of peanuts that you grabbed at late night. We can absolutely do that with Chargent as well. So you can authorize a card for a particular amount of money and then come back in and charge that or capture that charge. We can void a transaction from here. If the settlement batch hasn't gone through for the day, we can just make it look like that transaction never happened. Or if it's a period of time down the road, we can go ahead and offer a refund. And we can offer a full refund or a partial refund just by clicking one of these buttons. So let's just say we overcharged Mr. Schools by a small amount of money. Sorry about that, sir. We'll give it back to you right now. All we have to do is click the partial refund button, enter in the amount of the refund, click refund. All the data goes out to the gateway. Gateway returns us a response. We always post that response to the user. So I'll click off there, go back to my Chargent order, and if I scroll down to my transactions related list, you'll see that I now have that fresh refund record of $50 right there. So that is how we process a one-time order. So let's just say it's a sales rep on the phone with the customer, needs to charge for one, just a one-off item. Maybe it's an RMA for the customer service rep, something like that. Now let's take a look at our recurring billing. So we can handle just about any kind of recurring billing scenario that you can imagine. So if we come down, and it's all handled right within Salesforce, all right within that opportunity case or charge and order record. So we come down here to the recurring billing section, and we have a payment status of recurring. We simply choose, when do we want to charge these guys? Pick just about any kind of frequency you could have imagined. If there's a frequency that you don't see here that you'd like to charge folks on, just let us know. We're always happy to add it. But once you have the frequency set, you go ahead and tell the system when to stop. And we can stop it on a particular date. We can stop it on a count. So for example, after 13 successful transactions, this cycle would stop. We can count back from a balance due, or everybody's favorite SaaS model, and that's unending. So we'll continue to pick up and charge that particular amount to that payment method on that frequency until somebody actually comes in and physically cancels service. So once we've got that all set, if applicable, we can go ahead and choose a day of the month on which to charge these guys. And if need be, we can also schedule this to start out at a future date. So we can schedule a recurring cycle to start out at a future date. We can use this recurring billing section to go ahead and schedule a one-time payment out at a future date. You've got a lot of flexibility and control there. So let me scroll down to the related list of my transactions here and actually go to the list, and I'll show you kind of how this plays out a little bit. So the list is getting long. So on 8/25 of 2015, I came and charged these guys a $500, we'll just call it a setup fee. And then when their project was complete, they were ready to go on their monthly billing. So I told the system to come in on the 15th of the month, charge these guys $125. So you can see that Chargent has woken up, just like clockwork, on the 15th of the month, charge these guys $125. I can assure you, everyone, I am not waking up at 1 a.m. PST to click that charge button. Our recurring billing engine wakes up every single day at the time that you specify, scans Salesforce to see which records need to be charged, it simply charges those records accordingly. So if I come back to my one-time order, I've got a couple of different premium features that I'd like to show you. Number one is the payment request that Micaiah mentioned earlier. Let's go ahead and change that charge amount so we see a different transaction record coming in through there. So the payment request, again, was developed for a customer they truly didn't want their customer service reps handling any kind of credit card information. They wanted to put that onus, that responsibility on their customers' hands. So they wanted a secure site to go ahead and enter their credit card information. So that's where we came up with the payment request. Now, out of the box, this is initiated by a click of a button. This can obviously be scheduled. It can be automated with an Apex trigger or workflow rule, something like that. So you've got a lot of flexibility with how you go ahead and leverage this payment request feature. But again, out of the box, it's just somebody clicking that send pay request button. From here, we can go ahead and enter in an email address, or click the spyglass. We can just choose a billing contact from Salesforce. We can enter a little note, so thank you very much, and then send this request off. So what we're doing right now is Chargent is building that payment link, embedding that link into a Salesforce email template, and then shipping it over to the customer, who happens to be me. We should see that email pop up in just a second. Again, this is a Salesforce email template, so you absolutely have full control over the look and feel, the branding, the messaging, what have you. There it is. So this is the email template, basically straight out of the box. Very simple, but again, you've got full control over the branding here, the messaging, look and feel. But the secret is that payment link. So if I go ahead and click that link, I'm shipped over to a Salesforce site. So we're still hanging out in Salesforce. Blow up my screen to make it easier. Now, this is a Visualforce page hosted on a Salesforce site. So you absolutely have full control over the look and feel, messaging, and branding of this page as well. We do come with some open source code, so you can easily add your header and your footer and be done with it. Okay? But you absolutely have full control over all this white space real estate out here. We have control of this center box here, so our Visualforce component in the center. But from here, we've got a couple of different options as a customer. So if I need to update my billing information, I can go ahead and do that from right here. And as I save that, that does get saved directly to Salesforce no matter what I do with this payment page. But we scroll down here, and obviously we want to make a payment. Now, I have the ability to go ahead and process a credit or debit card from here, or I can choose to pay with my bank account if you want to allow your customers to do so. You do have control over that configuration. So you don't have to allow them to use their bank account. You can force them to use a credit card if you like. But as they're entering a credit card, you you can see that the box around that card number section is orange. So it's thinking. It's actually taking that string of characters as I type it through an algorithm to make sure it's a proper string of characters for a credit card number. And let's just say I fat finger the number, enter in the wrong digit. The box turns red, screams at me, says, hey, check your sources, make sure you enter the right digit. As I do, box turns green. Green means go ahead and charge that card. Go ahead, enter my security code. And in the same likeness, you'll see that we also have a validation rule here against the expiration date. So even if I try to charge my card at this point, you'll see that the system does not let me move forward. So that means a couple of different things for you. Number one is user experience. You know, hey, just make sure that all my data is proper before you let me move forward. But number two, and more importantly, I believe, is that hopefully we're saving a couple of pennies here and there in transaction costs for you. Simply for the fact that every transaction that we make out, that we initiate to the gateway on your behalf, you would incur that transaction fee. So even if they were to bounce us back an error to say, hey guys, bad card number, bad expiration date, what have you, they would still charge you that 29 cents or 30 cents or whatever. So if we can make sure that all that data is valid going over on that first call, then again, hopefully it's just a little bit more value add for Chargent. You can also see that the system picks up, this is a Visa card, MasterCard, American Express, so on and so forth, so just a little bit more data entry validation there. But all my boxes are green, everything looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and charge my card. As I hit the charge button, the hamster starts spinning the wheel, all the data goes out to the gateway. The gateway returns us a response, and we're gonna post that response to the user as a success or a fail page, which, again, you've got full control over the branding here as well. If I pop out of here, in a second, you'll also notice that I will get an email receipt. So after every single successful transaction, the customer is sent an email receipt. Now this email receipt is also another Salesforce email template based on a workflow rule, so you absolutely have control of the look and feel, messaging and branding, as well as you can just disable this workflow rule if you don't want to send out email receipts. But if I get off of here and I jump back to my Chargent order and refresh my page, you will notice that I now have a fresh Visa card with that new token that just came in from the gateway, as well as that $450 transaction record that was all brought in from that payment request page. Now that is payment request. Now let me show you our payment console. So payment console is our PCI scope reduction tool. It is our PCI scope reduction tool because it allows for the internal Salesforce user to never save any kind of credit card or specifically sensitive information in Salesforce. So in order to leverage the payment console, we go ahead and click the payment console button. You'll notice that we get a Visualforce component here. Again, we are acting as that internal Salesforce user, so a sales rep, customer service rep, an admin, whomever. So from here, I can go ahead and update that billing information again. I can change this charge amount if need be. I can choose bank account and credit card again. I've got all my same checks and balances with the credit card numbers. So if I enter the wrong digit, it shows me, as well as my security code, expiration date, all that good stuff. Now from here, I've got 3 different options available to me as a user. So I can simply charge this card, just like we have been, so an authorization and capture in one fell swoop. I can update a token, so without specifically charging anybody any amount, I'm just updating that payment information that they have on file for us. Or, like the hotel example, I can go ahead and authorize a card as well from here. And again, being Salesforce native, you have the option to remove these buttons, hide these buttons from users, what have you. You've got control over the configuration. But let's just go ahead and charge the card. As we do, all the data gets sent out to the gateway in memory. In memory, the gateway returns us a response as well as the token. So if I click off the component, my screen is going to refresh automatically. And we'll notice that I have that new Visa card ending in all ones with that fresh token, as well as that $90 transaction record created there. So again, the payment console is our PCI scope reduction tool for the fact that you're never storing any of that sensitive credit card or bank account information in Salesforce. All you're storing is that token. Now, one last thing to review here is, again, we are 100% Salesforce native. All your data is available for Salesforce reporting. We do come shipped over with some canned reports, so we make it easy to pull open, for example, this reconciliation report where you can see that we had a light day on 10/1, should have had $50 deposited into our merchant bank account made up of this one single charge here. But you can see here that we make it very, very easy to go ahead and use Salesforce slice and dice reporting to keep all your systems in line. And yes, of course, all these reports are able to be customized to your heart's content, just like any other Salesforce report. And that's about it for the demo. That is Chargent Core. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Yes, please. Sure.
So you say you want to create a new order,
Mm-hmm.
but you already have a payment method tokenized. Can you copy that token?
You can copy and paste to a new record. You can. As long as you're within the same Salesforce org. Mm-hmm. Not a problem.
Under the send pay request
Mm-hmm.
functionality, where the customer can change their address,
Mm-hmm.
if they change their address, does it preserve their old address or does it just overwrite?
It does overwrite. Yep.
One last question.
Yeah, you're fine.
On the, you said that for recurring gifts, it scans and to see if you put a future date.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that for a one-time gift that they call in and they want to do one time, you put a future date, is it automatically going to pick up that one-time order?
Absolutely. So let's just show you how to do it. So you would set the payment status of recurring, your frequency of once, right? And then choose your date. So on, let's just say this is 12/16/2017. On 12/16, this particular record would pick up, charge that one time, and then recurring goes to complete, and you're done. That record's done. Yes?
Is that decrementing the order amount or something? How does that know when it's done?
So the only time that it's going to really decrement that amount, right, is going to be on the balance owed. So if you go to, you got recurring as your status, and then you go to, let's just say, monthly, and then your payment stop here, you can go to a balance due.
Okay.
Then we'll continue to pick up and charge that particular amount until that balance equals 0. Otherwise, it's going to continue on that frequency and continue to charge that specific amount in that charge amount field on that frequency that you selected until whether, until it's a date that it stops on, or it just continues forever, or it's an actual number of transactions that have been completed.
So it does if you told it monthly, it just takes the amount due and chops it up?
So if we do monthly, it's going to charge that particular amount every month.
Every month?
Every month.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how would this work if you had, like, if I wanted to just bill someone, that'd be it, like, once a year?
Mm-hmm.
Does that order just stay open? I'm just not familiar with how that would work.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're going to do like a once annual billing, so it doesn't, let's just say you use an opportunity, right?
Okay.
You could still have your opportunity as a closed won status, like we do specifically. We use our own technology to run the business. We charge on an annual basis. So when I close an opportunity, right, I set that recurring status to annual, the date that we needed to hit on, and then I save the record. And then on that particular date, it charges that $6,000 or whatever the amount is every year.
Yeah.
Even though it's a closed won record, doesn't matter.
It's just looking at the amount and the recurring.
In the payment status. Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
So I have someone that wants to pay, like, they owe me $5,000, they want to pay me $1,000 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Can you set the amount?
So what we do here, we go
Oh, so it's 1,000.
1,000
And then 5.
recurring. I mean, do you want to do it annual? Right, doesn't really matter.
But it has to be a calendar. Oh, I see, there, you can do a calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can do.
So if he just wants to pay you, in increments of $1,000 5 times,
Yeah,
right? So you have a count of 5, and then you pick whatever kind of, whatever kind of frequency you want. Doesn't matter. It could be monthly, could be
okay.
daily.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, right on. And this is all out of the box, huh?
absolutely. Yeah, all click to configure.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's really by design too, right? We've designed the application to be as user-friendly, as flexible, and as easy to configure as possible. Yes?
Good morning.
Hi.
Going back to, so I work at Financial Force and we
Cool.
deal off of post-1 opportunities.
Mhm.
But sometimes we have like, the base rate and we have like an uplift percentage. Does Chargent read what the opportunity, amount is and not just a recurring amount? So just say it's $5,000 one year and we charge a 1%. And do we have to manually enter the amount into?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think at that point, you're probably looking at a small trigger to keep that amount proper. I don't know if you could I don't think a workflow rule would work in that scenario. But an apex trigger would definitely do it. Just to update that, because that percentage amount is going to change, right? So to take that percentage, multiply it by the opportunity amount or what have you to get that charge amount. Simple, quick trigger. Mm-hmm. It just takes all the manual effort out of it, all the guesswork out of it. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions or anything? Yeah.
How do you manage rejections on the recurring?
So, being Salesforce native, you've got a lot of options. We don't have anything built straight out of the box because everybody does it different, right? So some customers will do a simple workflow rule, and they'll tell the record owner, hey, this card got declined, you might want to reach out to the customer, okay? Some of our customers will go ahead and fire off a payment request email. We do. We send off a payment request email that says, hey guys, we got a decline in your card, just click this button, and you can go ahead and update your information. We've got some customers that'll write a trigger, which will rerun that card every day for 3 consecutive days, or every other day, or what have you. And then after that third hard decline, then they'll reach out to the customer, send them an email, what have you. So you just got a lot of control after how you deal with that.
You have
Yeah.
like control at the zip code level, like if there's a particular sales tax that applies for a particular zip code or a particular state.
So we don't necessarily deal with the actual sales tax, but a lot of our customers will use somebody like an Avalara. That's a plug-in that would, yeah,
To deal with sales.
yeah.
And that would all be within Salesforce.
Absolutely.
You don't have that.
Not as a feature in our product. We do have, yeah. We do have the fields available to collect your tax and calculate what your tax is, but it's not. We don't have rules built in to calculate tax.
Okay.
The payment request email you just mentioned,
Hmm.
Is that set up through a workflow or?
It is. Based on a workflow rule with the Salesforce email template, and you got full control. Yeah.
With this tool, can you do refunds or is this only just charges?
Absolutely. So if you want to go ahead and do a refund, we would click on this transaction record. And whether you want to do a full refund or a partial refund, you just click one of these buttons.
Yeah, probably like they overpaid and they want that one back.
Yeah, let's just say we overcharged by $40. Sorry, guys. Here you go. You can have it back right now.
And another question, how is this integrated with Financial Force? Is that transaction is the Financial Force transaction or?
And now you got a record of that.
Integrated?
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. If you do have questions, again, my name's Brett. I'll be around all day. Feel free to grab us. Any of us have any, if you have any questions, we're always happy to help. Thanks, everybody.